track there where they built the chicane, slow the cars down. They used to go through there at about 180 at full chat, and it was pretty dangerous if anybody came off there. That's a straight, that's not a bend that they're going around now. It's a very, very fast circuit. They'd be getting up to full speed in top gear along the straight. There they go, and they come down to all the corners here are fast. There isn't really a slow corner on the circuit. This particular corner would be taken in fourth gear if you've got a 5-speed box, or fifth if you've got a 6-speed box, and it'd be doing something like 140, 150 miles an hour through there. This is the fastest part of the circuit. Now they come down the hill away from that right-hand corner into the Bosch curve, which again, very fast, long, 180-degree corner, taken at well over 130 miles an hour. Bit of camber there, get terrific load for the drivers at the bottom of this corner. They get bumped around in the car a lot, and the big G-forces, which of course makes it very hard work to drive. Then they go away down that short straight. As you see, there's a little hump that they disappear over as they go down. You can see them turning left there. As they go down that left hand, the road falls away quite sharply. The car goes very light. And then they bottom out there. Another left-hander coming. Again, all fast corners. This will be taken 2 gears away from top, third or fourth, depending on your box. Again. And then they come out of the left-hand side of the road a bit, because they go right over this little brow here. Again, the car goes very light over the brow, makes it very important for them to set up right into that corner in order to take it flat out. They should take it without lifting off at all, but you've got to have it set up right to start off with. Weaving about to warm the tyres up a bit. Down the hill, and then they've come up over a brow, which we didn't see, and then down into the final corner, which is, again, another 180-degree corner, another right-hander taken in third or fourth gear, probably at about 120 miles an hour, something like that. And now the lead car, the pole car, will be slowing up. They come round the corner. Yes, there they come in the distance, letting the field bunch up so that he doesn't have to sit for too long, revving his engine up with the car in gear so that it doesn't burn his clutch or boil his water, because of a hot day like this, he'll be struggling a bit.
And those of you who have been following the practice may be surprised to see that caption. This race has been reduced in length from 54 laps to 53 laps, and that's a distance of 195.7 miles an hour. On the left-hand side of the front rank of the grid is René Arnoux. Then, just slightly behind him, because it's a staggered grid, is Alain Prost. Then, Gilles Villeneuve. And you'll notice there are 3 turbos, which are slower at getting away than the normally aspirated cars. Behind them is Jacques Lafitte. And the lights, when they go from green to red, take about 3 seconds. Away they've gone. It's Prost into the lead. It's Villeneuve streaking up on the inside as they go up the hill towards the Hellelique curve. Villeneuve, with less turbocharged lag on the Ferrari, got an absolutely superb start, and it's Villeneuve leading through the Hellelique curve, followed by Prost and Arnoux, and Lafitte and Pironi is well up. So it is the 4 turbocharged cars, the 2 Ferraris. There is Villeneuve, behind him Prost, and now Pironi is up into 4th position ahead of Jacques Lafitte in the Talbot Matra. Behind Lafitte, Jones and Reutemann, Nelson Piquet well up, John Watson in 8th position. They are all round the glass curve. Now this is the highest point of the circuit, where they do 175 to 180 miles an hour, and Nelson Piquet jockeying for position up with Alan Jones round the Bosch curve, and it's Villeneuve. Then the 2 Renaults, lap 1. Pironi in 4th position, Jacques Lafitte in 5th place. Down to the Texaco bends, the 2 left-handers, and that's where Derek Daly went off at such enormous speed last year in the Tyrrell. But it's still Villeneuve, Renault, Pironi, Lafitte. Then Piquet is up into another position. There goes Piquet. And Alan Jones is behind his teammate Carlos Reutemann as they go over the crest of the hill and into the Jochen Rindt curve, which is a 145 mile an hour bend from 4th gear up into 5th gear, past the and finish point. And it's Villeneuve, it's Prost, Arnoux, Pironi, Lafitte, Reutemann, Piquet and Jones. 1 lap completed, 52 to go, and through into the lead, and off goes Villeneuve. He's all right, he's just overcooked it, he's not too quick, as has Carlos Reutemann, and they've left a gap in the cars there to allow them to wiggle-woggle, do a sort of test, as it were. And so now the 2 Renaults are in the lead, and we can expect to see a storming drive from Villeneuve in the Ferrari, who will be out to get those places back. And in the Ferrari, which doesn't handle as well as the Ford Cosworth powered cars, he's going to have all his time cut out.
Yes, I think that might be a bit of an expensive mistake for Villeneuve there. It was caused because he was fighting to protect his place in the lead then, but he was really beaten. You think he should have braked a little bit earlier and let it go, because he's going to have an awful struggle to make that back up now. He made a fabulous start. He'd qualified the car well. I don't think the car's race form will be good enough to make places up, having dropped them like that. So that's a shame, but it'll be a big sigh of relief for the Cosworth-powered drivers behind him, because it's the old story of the mobile chicane again, as Alan Jones referred to the Ferrari, and that presents a big problem, as we've seen several times this year, for overtaking with the cars with less power.
Well, now with turbos first, second and third, with Prost leading Arnoux and Pironi in the Ferrari third. Look at that, because Jacques Lafitte in the Silver Tatra in 4th position has got Didier Pironi in front of him, and meantime the 2 turbocharged Renaults are breaking away. Pironi has got a build-up behind him, because there is Lafitte in 4th place, Piquet in 5th position. Then there is Villeneuve back in the running. Now Villeneuve has come right up through the field. He has passed Reutemann and Jones, and he's starting to close up on Nelson Piquet that we're looking at now. So there are the 3rd, 4th and 5th men, Pironi, Lafitte and Piquet. In 7th position, Villeneuve, and Villeneuve running wide. Reutemann behind Alan Jones, over the crest of the hill again. And all the time, the 2 turbocharged Renaults are making the most of the advantage that they've got, with Pironi holding up Jacques Lafitte, with Piquet closing up on Lafitte, and there is Villeneuve, number 27, as the leaders will be coming through any moment to complete the 3rd lap in 53. They're round the Texaco bends. There is Villeneuve, and he really is going. He's clawed his way past 2 or 3 competitors since he went off at the Hellenic curve. Villeneuve, Jones, Reutemann through, Jones and Reutemann right behind Villeneuve, having been passed to him, and meantime the leaders appear at the end of lap 3, and across the line go Prost leading. Arnoux is in 2nd place. Now there's a big gap developing. Then it's Pironi, Lafitte, Piquet, Villeneuve, Jones and Reutemann. There is the battle, the flash from the turbo as Didier Pironi in 3rd place backed off, and right behind him Jacques Lafitte and now Nelson Piquet.
Yeah, you can see the problem with this group here. These 3 is very, very serious, with Pironi is seriously holding them up. He goes just leaping away from them down the straight. Look how much he's pulled since the chicane, just on pure power, and then through the corners, the conventionally aspirated cars come leaping back up to his exhaust pipe, just to see him whistle away again with his turbocharger. And quite what they're going to do to pass him, other than hope that he breaks down or makes some sort of a mistake, I really don't know. I mean, it's easier very often when you're sitting up here in a commentary box to see ways to get round people than it is out on the track, and I can't even think of an idea sitting here. But now you see they'll come leaping up to him again, and there goes Pironi. And of course Villeneuve is presenting exactly the same problem. Now look at him pull away with the power. As soon as he gets on the powers, he's out of the corner. They're back up under braking. He's having a go. I think that's the only place, either there or the next corner. Lafitte may be able to have a little stab through at this next left-hander, but it's a mighty difficult place to have a go.
Well, let's see if he does. Pironi 3rd, Jacques Lafitte, number 26, in 4th position. This is lap 4. Piquet is in 5th place. And now you can see how Pironi is holding them up, because The rest behind Piquet are starting to close, and as the leaders go through, Arnoux and Prost, there is an ever-increasing gap. Then it's Pironi, Lafitte, Piquet, Jones, and Villeneuve has been passed by both Jones and Reutemann.
So Piquet held on to his place all right, but he'd be mighty anxious to get past the Ferrari and get after the two Renaults, because I don't think the Renaults are going that quickly. And on the practice form this morning in the warm-up, I think that Piquet should be able to certainly hold his ground with them if he can only deal with the red problem in front of him.
Well, the leaders are through, having completed 6 laps, and I've got the watch running with Pironi, Piquet, Lafitte, Jones and Reutemann. And incidentally, have a look at the way these cars handle on the circuit, especially coming out of the Hellelique curve. It's very, very bumpy at parts of this circuit, and the cars are now set up so that there is only 1 inch of suspension travel. And indeed, in practice yesterday, some of the cars were practicing with virtually no springs at all and just operating on the bump stops, which makes them, in effect, 500 horsepower cars spelled with a K, and it makes them incredibly difficult to handle. And the gap between this, as Nelson Piquet challenges Didier Pironi and goes through, and so now Nelson Piquet is up into 3rd position, followed by Jacques Lafitte, both of them taking Pironi, and Jones tucking in behind Lafitte, but no, Pironi holds it, he's still in 3rd place, but Piquet all over him, and the gap is extending all the time between the Renaults and Pironi, and it's 12.5 seconds at the end of the previous lap. Prost leading Arnoux with Pironi 3rd, then Piquet in the Brabham, Lafitte in the Talbot Matra, and Alan Jones, and you're looking at Jones, the last of this batch, and behind him is his teammate Carlos Reutemann. Behind Reutemann is Riccardo Patrese, and then Villeneuve, and look as Piquet tries again. And so there's a perfect example of how difficult the cars are to control. Alan Jones's near side front and rear wheels both right off the ground. This is the end of lap 8. The leaders are already through as this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 car battle for 2nd place crosses the line. No change. Pironi will try to hold back Piquet. Piquet will have no choice but to stay where he is as they go through the Hellelique curve, which, by the way, is a 2nd gear bend, and they take it at some 75 miles an hour. Now they're up into 3rd, 4th, 5th gears, and at the point they're at now, it's a 165 mile an hour run up to the right-handed black curve. Pironi in the Scarlet Ferrari 3rd. Nelson Piquet trying again as they go up the hill to the highest point of the course. This is where he tried to take Pironi last time. But when Pironi gets over the crest of the hill, he can keep his foot down, and that's where the turbo power of the Ferrari will start to tell. This is the fastest part of the course as they come up to the Bosch curve. 175 miles an hour, 145 round here. And now Lafitte is going to try. But Pironi using the power, and Lafitte is through, up into 3rd position again. Jacques Lafitte at the Texaco Benz on lap 8 out of 53 retakes 3rd position from Nelson Piquet as the leaders go through and complete their 8th lap. The 2 Renaults have got an enormous lead now. Last year it was a similar situation with Jean-Pierre Savoy leading his teammate René Arnoux. Arnoux had to come in for tyres 4 times. And Jacques Lafitte in 4th position behind Didier Pironi. They cross the line, and the gap now is nearly 26 seconds. Recap then, leading at the end of 9 laps. Alain Prost, the French Grand Prix winner in the Renault, the man who led the British Grand Prix and finished in 2nd position in Germany 2 weeks ago, leading the French Grand Prix from his teammate René Arnoux. In 3rd position Pironi, and this battle for 4th place between the blue Talbot Matra of number 26 Jacques Lafitte Nelson Piquet behind him, Alan Jones behind him, Ben Reutemann, and now Villeneuve is right up with the pack. In the background, the Scarlet Ferrari of Villeneuve and Pironi having another go for fourth position. Piquet, I'm sorry. Out of the Bosch curve, into the Texaco bend, and streaks through. Jacques Lafitte is now, with a fantastic passing manoeuvre, up into third place.
That was marvellous stuff. He took that from a long way behind. He must have really screwed himself up, shut his eyes and prayed as he did that. That was a marvellous piece of driving by Lafitte. And now where's the Ferrari gone? Because Piquet got through as well. Unfortunately, we were tied in with a close-up there, and I think what must have happened is that as he saw the unexpected figure of Lafitte, because I'm sure he wasn't expecting it then, Pironi, as he came alongside, and that's, of course, he's in trouble, because Pironi seems to have slowed down, because now Jones goes through. No, he's fighting back, so he's not dead yet. He's probably in handling trouble. But Jones is through as well. Well, those three drivers will be breathing a huge sigh of relief, probably not quite out of the woods yet, because from that distance, Pironi might just catch Alan Jones on the straight. He was having a go at him before. No, he's not going to do it. Jones is away and safe. Now you watch this gap build as they go away from Pironi. Well, the Piquet and Jones have both got the beat to thank for that. It was a marvellous attacking piece of manoeuvre from far out, and this should liven the race up. Now we've got to watch the gap to see if they can catch the Renaults.
And I will put the stopwatch on the Renaults as they complete a lap. There's the fastest lap so far, significantly. Gilles, that's the speed along the straight, 305 kilometres an hour, and I can't turn that into miles an hour in my head and talk to you at the same time, so I will hope that you've got a calculator, but it's about 180 miles an hour. Well, the positions on lap 10 are that in the lead is Prost, in second place is Arnoux, in third place now is Jacques Lafitte, in fourth place Nelson Piquet, in fifth position is Alan Jones, down to sixth place has gone Didier Pironi, behind him is Carlos Reutemann, then Riccardo Patrese, and here as they come round the exit from the Texaco bend is Jacques Lafitte, Piquet, Pironi, and in the background I saw a flash of an orange car. That must be Siegfried Sturr's car, because I see that Riccardo Patrese in this replay is still in the running. Because those distinctive white marks, the white painting and the lettering, indicate that it's the Bosch curve. So Gilles Villeneuve on lap 13 out of 53 is very much out of the race with a shattered Ferrari, and we've seen a lot of Villeneuve shattered Ferraris, because Gilles in this car, which handles very, very badly indeed, just never gives up. He always keeps his foot absolutely flat. And on lap 13, on lap 13 out of 53, the race order is Alain Prost, Renault, leading René Arnoux, Renault. In third place, Jacques Lafitte in the Talbot Matra. In fourth place, Nelson Piquet in the Brabham. In fifth place, Alan Jones, and completing the World Championship point standings at the moment in sixth place, Carlos Reutemann, and there's still 40 laps to go. Along the course as the two Renaults go up the hill from the start and finish point, in formation through the Hella-Leak curve. French cars, French drivers, French engines, and the gap is 16.5 seconds. So, yes, Arnoux in second place and Prost in third position are losing out to Jacques Lafitte, but by very, very little. The two Frenchmen in the Renaults have got a very, very comfortable cushion as we look back along the course to find the battle for third position. Here it is, Jacques Lafitte, Torben Matra, into the Glatz curve. Alan Jones in fourth place behind him. Alan Jones, who won at Long Beach, second in Brazil, and is only in fourth place in the World Championship, the reigning World Champion. Piquet there.
Yes, at the moment, the Lafitte seems to be holding the others off fairly comfortably. Piquet doesn't seem to be able to get that close to him. At the same time, Alan Jones seems to be fairly comfortably settled where he is. Just a word about Alan Jones, as Larry was saying, current world champion, lying only fourth in the championship. It should be said that, certainly in my opinion, he's driven far and away the best he's ever driven this season. He's had an absolutely marvellous season. He's just been hugely unlucky. He drove quite brilliant races at both Monte Carlo and Hockenheim. Had probably the same fuel feed problem on each occasion, let him down right at the end. It's been really cruel luck for him.
Lap 14, and as we look at Nelson Piquet, who is in fourth position, the gap is just under 16 seconds between the two leaders, the Renaults, and Jacques Lafitte and Nelson Piquet, who is in fourth place. And in fifth place, it's the man from Glenburn, Victoria in Australia, Alan Jones, followed by Carlos Reutemann. Then in seventh position is Didier Pironi, who, unlike his teammate Gilles Villeneuve, who went off in such a big way on lap 13, is still in the running. Then in eighth position is Nigel Mansell. In ninth place, Riccardo Patrese. In 10th position, John Watson. And behind John Watson in 10th place, Elio De Angelis in 11th place. And in 12th position is Patrick Tambay. And by the way, the Chilean driver, Eliseo Salazar, is well up in the running. He's in 13th position, and that's a terrific achievement, because he's in an ensign which is much, much slower than all the cars in front of him and a lot behind him. And he certainly hasn't got anything like the race experience of, for instance, Jacques Lafitte, who is in his 104th Grand Prix. In third position, building up the points very nicely, Lafitte, who is third in the World Championship. Lafitte, he was in sixth position in Brazil. He finished second in Belgium. He finished third in Monaco, second again in Spain, and two more third places in Britain and Germany has put him well up in the World Championship, indeed in third place behind that man, number 2, Carlos Reutemann. And there is Pironi being chased by Nigel Mansell and Riccardo Patrese. And Pironi at the present moment is in 7th position.
Quite amazing, isn't it? Every time we see a Ferrari, we see a huge queue behind it. And it really is very, very frustrating if you're following somebody, to drive in that situation, work hard, held up round every corner, and then just watch them disappear down every straight. There they are, there they go again. Pironi disappears off the distance down the straight. They'll close right up to him on the corner, but there's just no way round, or no easy way, unless you're prepared to stick your neck right out, as Lafitte did, which was, he did the only thing possible, and it really was a spectacularly brave and skillful overtaking manoeuvre.
The battle for 7th place then on lap 16. Didier Pironi in the Ferrari being chased by Britain's Nigel Mansell in the John Player Special, and Mansell going round the Bosch curve and trying to get through on the inside, but he'll never do that. Pironi can put his foot down here, keep the inside line of the Texaco bends. This is where Derek Daly went off last year. Nigel Mansell driving absolutely superbly. He said after the warm-up period this morning that he was very, very happy with the balance of the car, which is more, I'm sure, than Didier Pironi is. He's probably seen that his teammate Gilles Villeneuve has gone off in the biggest possible way. And now John Watson has got ahead of Riccardo Patrese and is up to 9th position. So, number 28, Pironi, is 7th. Nigel Mansell in the black and gold Lotus is 8th. John Watson, the British Grand Prix winner, number 7 in the Marlborough MP4, is in 9th position, and right behind him in 10th place, Riccardo Patrese, as they complete lap 17 shortly. In fact, they have completed it. In front of them all the time, let us not forget, there are the two flying turbocharged Renaults of Alain Prost and René Arnoux, followed in 3rd position by Jacques Lafitte still. In 4th place, it is Nelson Piquet. In 5th position, it's Alan Jones. In 6th position, it's Carlos Reutemann, and this is the battle for 7th. There is the 8th place man, Nigel Mansell. Up to the run down to the Bosch curve, and it's coming out of the Bosch curve, and John Watson's going through and taking Mansell, or is he, as they go into the Bosch curve? No, he's not. Mansell still holds that 8th place.
Yes, unfortunately, he got a good toe up, but he got himself on the wrong side of Mansell, ready to overtake, because although he was inside for that little kink, when they get to the real corner, it's a right-hander, and Watson was stuck on the outside, and that is not the way to overtake, particularly for a driver of Watson's experience. Mansell's having... Yes, Mansell's done it. Same place as the beat, that's where Pironi's weakness is, because it's followed by another corner. And let's just see if Watson can follow through. No, he hasn't. And in fact, Watson is now under pressure from Patrese.
And I hope our Austrian producer is keeping a very careful eye on this race, because up front, ahead of this terrific scrap, as Mansell pulls away from Pironi, Watson and Patrese, the gap between the two turbocharged Renaults of Alain Prost in the lead on lap 18 and René Arnoux and Jacques Lafitte is down to under 11 seconds. On the infield, you saw the shattered remains of Gilles Villeneuve's Ferrari, who went off on the Bosch curve, smashed his Ferrari to pieces on lap 13, stepped out of the car typically absolutely unperturbed, walked away, but there is only one Ferrari left in the race, that of Didier Pironi, who is in 8th position. Between them, because Prost is just driving round, not challenging his teammate Arnoux at all, and the same applies between René Arnoux, who is in 2nd place, and Alain Prost, the race leader. But all the time, Jacques Lafitte, who is driving superbly on what is probably the best handling car on the circuit, is whittling away at the lead of the two Renaults. There, number 28, Didier Pironi, with behind him John Watson, Riccardo Patrese, up to the Jochenried curve, and Elio De Angelis. And Pironi, number 28, is in 8th position. So, Pironi 8th, Watson behind him in 9th place. 10th is Riccardo Patrese, 11th is Elio De Angelis, but number 12, Nigel Mansell, John Player Special, 7th position. Or will be soon, of lap 21. Across the line goes Pironi, number 28, in that 8th position. And he pulls away on sheer power as they go up to the Hellenic curve. In 9th place, John Watson. 10th position, number 29, Riccardo Patrese in the Arrows. And in 11th position, Elio De Angelis. Those four absolutely together. And Nigel Mansell is pulling away from Pironi, the Frenchman in the Italian Ferrari. He's on lap 21 in this 53-lap race, so there's still a long, long way to go. And the point of vital interest at the front is Jacques Lafitte continuing to whittle down the lead of Alain Prost and René Arnoux, who've now got about 6 car lengths between them as they go through and complete lap 21. Out of the Riochen-Rindt curve comes Jacques Lafitte, and down comes the gap again. The gap is down to 9.4 seconds on lap 22 out of 53. So Jacques Lafitte is inexorably gaining, and John Watson is inexorably trying to get past Didier Pironi in 8th position.
I'm surprised that what he hasn't learned from Mansell's manoeuvre and isn't trying to emulate that. Because Patrese having a little stab at Watson there. Because those 2 left-hand curves are definitely the place. That's the weakness. That's where everybody who's managed to get past Pironi so far has done it. All started by the feet. But Watson, I would have thought, has been just about close enough to have a stab. But maybe he feels he's not quite close enough. Maybe his car's not turning into the corner easily enough to do it, because it does depend, of course, on how your car's handled. But there's no doubt that if Watson can get past Pironi, if and when, he will go a lot quicker, and I would expect him to be able to catch Mansell, unless, of course, Pironi gives Mansell too big a start.
On lap 22 out of 53, Alain Prost leads René Arnoux first and second. In 3rd position, Jacques Lafitte. In 4th place, Nelson Piquet. In 5th position, Alan Jones. And in 6th position, it is Carlos Reutemann. 7th is Nigel Mansell, who is pulling away from this battle for 8th position between Pironi. Behind Pironi, John Watson, who is 9th. Behind Watson is Patrese, who is 10th. And then Elio De Angelis, and down comes the gap again, because Jacques Lafitte is cutting down the gap between himself and the Renaults by about 1 second a lap. This is the battle for 8. There's Elio De Angelis in the leaping Lotus on its very rigid suspension. And again, now Patrese is having a go at Watson and failing. Nigel Mansell goes through in 7th position, out of the Jochen-Rindt curve on lap 23, almost at the end of it. Pironi, 7th, Watson, 8th, Patrese, number 29, in 9th position, and Elio De Angelis just coming into the picture as they go up the hill in 11th position, into the Hellenic curve. Pironi, Watson, Patrese, De Angelis. And behind De Angelis, incidentally, is no less a man than Eliseo Salazar. Salazar, the Chilean in the ensign, is in an incredible 12th position. He finished quite well down in practicing because he was on suitable tyres, and he said before the race began that being on harder tyres in the race, as would everybody else be, he was expecting to be much better up, and sounded very confident, and indeed he had every reason to be. Pironi, Watson, Patrese, De Angelis. Now, Jacques Lafitte has gone through. The gap between Lafitte and Piquet is only 3.4 seconds. The producer is sensibly staying with this battle between Didier Pironi and the men behind him, including John Watson, who tries again for 8th position.
It must be very frustrating for John Watson, because after a rather poor practice effort, when the McLaren weren't able to get their car absolutely right, they weren't totally happy with it, they switched to a different tyre this morning, and the car went really very well indeed in the warm-up, and so Watson must have been hoping for greater things. Patrese, of course, is battling away, and this could be a problem for John Watson. It makes it more difficult, of course, for him to pass Peroni, because he's got to watch his back, because Patrese climbing all over his exhaust pipe, looking for the slightest slip, and of course, in every situation you speculate to accumulate, and any sort of overtaking manoeuvre, if it doesn't come off, of course, is liable to slow one down, and Watson can't afford to have Patrese nip by him, and put him in the driving seat as far as attacking Peroni is concerned. It's essential to Watson that he keeps that place there, so if anybody's going to get past, it's him, and he's the first one.
Well, I say watch these by all means, but watch also the man behind them, because Eliseo Salazar, somebody's gone off there with presumably a puncture, but Eliseo Salazar is catching up all the time, and the gap now, we must get back to the leaders soon, because the gap now, and it's Mansell. Oh, what tragic luck. Nigel Mansell in the John Thayer Special Lotus, number 12, starts to get out of the cockpit. And Watson is through. Watson is through ahead of Peroni, and the gap now between Jacques Lafitte in third position and the two leading turbocharged Renaults is less than 7 seconds. And we're back with Lafitte on lap 25. Lafitte is driving an incredible race. He's got a superbly handling car. The 12-cylinder Matra engine, which is propelling his Talbot as he comes down to the 180-mile-an-hour left-hander before the Bosch curve. The Talbot is handling magnificently. Jacques Lafitte, very much the team boss, now that Gerard Ducarouge, the previous Talbot team manager, has left them. Jacques Lafitte is in effect number one driver and team manager, and he seems to be making a very good job of both those functions, because he's on his own in third position, and there are the leaders. Alain Prost closing up on a tail-ender over the crest, and the tail-ender is Michele Alboreto in the Tyrrell, who, unlike his team leader, Eddie Cheever, qualified. Eddie Cheever failed to qualify either the new or the older Tyrrell in practicing. He had all sorts of problems, and there is Lafitte. Now it's definitely getting to be very exciting indeed on lap 26 out of 53. Jacques Lafitte is closing up of the two Renaults in front of him. You've just seen the Renaults go through the Hellenic curve. Here is Jacques Lafitte in third position. Behind him in fourth place, about 3 or 4 seconds behind him, is Nelson Piquet. The two Renaults have got ahead of Alboreto, number 4. That's him here, and he's gaining.
That was predicted, and we see here how he actually has gone off the track. Apparently it was engine trouble caused by the heat, 32 degrees Celsius at Oostenrijk Ring, and that was predicted before the race. So there's the race leader, Alain Prost, in his Renault. He's off the track, so let's pick up the race again with René Arnoux now leading from Jacques Lafitte.
And he obviously knew his race had been run, because there was no argument. Undone came the seat belts, and out of the car stepped Alain Prost. Meantime, the race leader, René Arnoux, knowing, of course, that it's all up to him. This is a reversal of what happened to Prost last year, because in 1980, the battle up at the front, well, it wasn't really a battle, it was a racing demonstration between René Arnoux and his then teammate Jean-Pierre Jabouille. And René Arnoux had no less than 4 tyre stops, whereas Jean-Pierre Jabouille drove home brilliantly, conserved his tyres right to the end of the race, and beat Alan Jones by just about a second. Nigel Mansell walking in, understandably looking very hot, but surprisingly looking comparatively cheerful, as in the background goes Patrick Tambay chasing Mario Andretti well down the field. And now the gap between René Arnoux and Jacques Lafitte, with 28 laps completed, as we look at Andretti and Tambay, who are well lapped. They've both been lapped, but the gap between René Arnoux and Jacques Lafitte is only 3.5 seconds on lap 29. So it is René Arnoux, Renault, leading Jacques Lafitte in the Tour. But in third position is Nelson Piquet, making no difference between the gap between himself and Jacques Lafitte. Then in fourth position, it's Alan Jones, the world champion. Fifth is Carlos Reutemann. And there is the gap between Arnoux and Lafitte, 3.74 seconds. Is Jacques Lafitte here going into the Bosch curve. Frenchman in French Renault leads Frenchman in French Talbot in second position. John Watson has been lapped. Out of the pits goes Patrick Tambay. No, John Watson has not been lapped, my apologies. There's a considerable gap, though, between Carlos Reutemann and John Watson, and it would look that Watson has got little chance of catching. Now,
Pironi's got an even bigger queue behind us. Somebody just pulled off the circuit there. It was Siegfried Sturm. Doing his own mechanical work by the look of things, diving under the cars, and then an extinguisher there to deal with any action. It all looks a bit smoky. It's very nasty, but it does appear to be steam. I don't think that was smoke, or not as far as I could see.
Well, here is the Ferrari Crocodile again, and this time it is Didier Pironi, number 28, in 7th position, staving off the frenzied attentions of the 8th place man, Riccardo Patrese, in the Arrows, who it is rumoured has got half the teams in Formula 1 trying to get him to drive for them in 1982. And there's Derek Daly well up in the march, but he's been lapped. Derek Daly then, but the battle is between number 28, Pironi, in 7th place, Patrese, who is in 8th position, De Angelis, number 11, in the Lotus, who is therefore in 9th place, and they cross the line to complete another lap, indeed to complete their 29th lap, so they're on lap 30, as are the leaders in this 23-lap race, and Pironi's keeping the Ferrari going. Siegfried Sturr, 53 laps this race, which was originally to be 54 laps, was mysteriously shortened, I suspect, because if it had run 54 laps, it would have been slightly over the mandatory 2-hour period, which is the maximum that any Formula 1 Grand Prix is allowed to last. And De Angelis is challenging Riccardo Patrese, and Alessio Salazar is trying to pass Derek Daly, who will have nothing of it. But Salazar, number 14, is now in 10th position, and he's right up with Elio De Angelis, Riccardo Patrese, and Didier Pironi. Now, can he get past Derek Daly? Not if the Irishman's got anything to do with it, he can't. Let's see. Down to the Texaco bend. There's Patrese in the Ragno Arrows in 8th position. Ahead of him, Pironi. Behind him, De Angelis. There's Daly, who has been lapped. And a frenzied Chilean, Alessio Salazar, trying to get past Daly in order to get to grips with the battle for 8th position between Didier Pironi. Battle for 7th position between Didier Pironi and his followers. And up at the front as they cross the line, now is Salazar going to be able to close up on Daly. And Daly won't realise, of course, that he has been lapped. Yes, of course he will. Yes, of course he will. And the race order on lap 31, as we look at Hector Ribach, who is well down the running, who has been into the pits and has been lapped several times. The race order is René Arnoux, now leading with the defection of his teammate. There is Arnoux, and there is Lafitte. That's how close it is. It's certainly less than the 3.5 seconds that it was when we last checked. So our Arnoux leading Lafitte. In third position, Piquet. In fourth position, Jones. In fifth position, Reutemann. In sixth position, Watson. And then the battle for seventh place, which currently is held by Didier Pironi, with behind him Patrizio, Elio De Angelis and Eliseo Salazar. There's Arnoux. Now, Lafitte has got to get past Slim Forgood, the Swedish driver in the ATS, the transformed ATS, thanks to the attentions of team manager Alistair Caldwell. And Lafitte nearly lost it there. His front slipped away, but he recovered it masterfully. He's really, I would say, on 10/10 or maybe even 10 and a half.
Yes, he's certainly driving very aggressively and really having a go at the feet, but he just got a little bit wide. The trouble with that corner, particularly as the race progresses, you get a lot of rubber dust off the tyres and general dirt all gets swept off the line. The line is clean with not stripped. You get a little bit offline and it gets mighty slippery out there. And the feet just went a little bit wide, you know. One wants to try and go as wide as possible into that corner to attack it. But if you just step out of what we call the groove, then, of course, you can be in a lot of trouble because it's got nothing like as much grip out there. Anyway, no harm done. The feet is back on full song and attacking hard. He's got the back markers to deal with before he can attack the Renault, or has he? No, I think he's clear of back markers and he's right up behind. He's going to be, in fact, he's going to be with Arnoux within the next lap or so, and he can start working out his problem of how to deal with him.
Curve. This is 145 miles an hour in fourth gear. Change up into fifth gear. Across the line they go. And is Lafitte going to make his challenge against Arnoux as they go up the hill and into the Hellenic curve? No.
No, it's going to be the same old problem with the turbocharged cars with their extra power. You could see it then. The feet was quicker, much quicker around the corner. He got alongside him coming out of the corner. And then as soon as Arnoux got his foot on the loud pedal, off he went down the straight, opened up the big gap. There he goes again. The feet got right up behind him again at the chicane. Arnoux pulling that huge lead. It really is a big power advantage required to pull a lead like that. There must be a good 50-60 horsepower minimum, possibly more, I would think, as an advantage in order to make that tremendous performance down the straight. Anyway, we've seen Lafitte do it once today. He's got a back marker in the middle there. We'll have to deal with that now, very kindly and politely. Oh, Lafitte's on the slippery stuff again. Oh, dear. Well, he kept it together, but it's very unpleasant out there. If you get off out of that groove, you can see the groove with the black rubber, which is the line that all the cars follow. And off that, it's all fraught with all sorts of risks and frightening things to happen to you.
Well, the interesting thing was that the man they passed was Andrea De Cesaris in the second Marlboro MP4, John Watson's teammate. And De Cesaris created some sort of a record in practice by going off for the 17th time this year and severely damaging his motor car. And he promised his mechanics, after they had to do 120 man-hours of work on the car between the end of practice and the start of racing today, that he would bring the car home in one piece. And he's been lapped. Arnoux leads, lap 36 they are on. Jacques Lafitte second. Behind them in third place itself is Nelson Piquet. Fourth is Alan Jones and fifth Carlos Reutemann. Sixth is John Watson and seventh is Didier Pironi, who is still ahead of the eighth place man Elio De Angelis. And again René Arnoux pulls away at the Glatz curve. Now it's fourth gear, up into fifth, uphill towards the highest point of the course. Underneath the banner, now the plunge down to the Bosch curve. The left-hander, where they're doing 180 miles an hour, precedes the Bosch curve. Then the sweeping right part, where, as James pointed out, Jacques Lafitte got out onto the marbles on the previous lap, but not this lap. He's got a clear circuit in front of him. And this is where Jacques Lafitte starts to close up on Arnoux. The Talbot handles much better than the Renault on left-handers and is better on braking. Look at that.
Yes, you'd expect the normally aspirated cars to be quicker on handling through those two left-handers, but the Lafitte's car seems to be exceptionally quick. He pulls a huge amount there. It's very often at this track that you get a situation where the cars don't quite get a good balance, or rather the same balance in left and right-hand corners, and you do sometimes find that your car is better in one than the other. And I would think that Lafitte is probably well pleased with the way his car's going around the left-handers. Doesn't look as if he's going to be all that disappointed with the way it's going around the right-handers either. But, of course, one problem that Lafitte has got, which he'll be bearing in mind, is that with the Renault holding him up in front as he tries to find a way around Arnoux, Piquet will be slowly, gently closing the gap that Jacques Lafitte worked so hard to create after he managed to get away from that bunch first. And, of course, that's all very frustrating when your hard work is undone. Look at that gap, how it extends. It's quite staggering, the power of these turbocharged cars compared with the normally aspirated ones.
And there's a very aspirated one. It is Bruno Giacomelli's car. We had a firework display here last night at the end of practice. Bruno Giacomelli is certainly rivaling that, because it looks to me as though the disc brakes at the back of his car have set fire to the fiberglass bodywork. Well, it doesn't look as though it has. It has, most definitely. Out come the fire extinguishers, and a great pall of smoke surrounds the car. Giacomelli out of it as though he got a spring up his backside. He fairly shot out of the car, and meantime the battle for the lead continues on lap 37, and again Lafitte closes right up with René Arnoux, as he has done on each of the previous laps, and he seems to me to be psyching himself. He's getting closer and closer on aggregate through each lap. He makes his challenge coming out of the Texaco bend. It's just possible that if he can come out of the Bosch curve really close up behind René Arnoux, as he is doing this time, he'll be able to take him as they come up the hill to the Hellelicht curve. But Arnoux's got a big power advantage here. Did you see Lafitte just momentarily lift his hand off the steering wheel and give a curt signal to his pits, as though to say all is well? Not that I think they needed any signal. They can see things are going pretty well for Jacques Lafitte on lap 38. Behind them, Nelson Piquet still in third position and covered with fire extinguisher foam. A very second-hand, but not for sale, Alfa Romeo of Bruno Giacomelli, with the Italian perplexedly looking at things. And there's Ermanno Quoghi, the famous Alfa Romeo mechanic, ex-Lauda mechanic, the bald-headed chap who had a Kojak haircut last year but is allowed to grow it this. And René Arnoux leads Jacques Lafitte, lap 38. 53-lap race, Bosch curve.
Lafitte's done that corner very well. He's very close now. I would think he's going to have a go into the left-hander now. Let's see if we get a switch. Yes, then he's trying. René Arnoux staved it off just, but of course the trouble with that now, Lafitte's now, as it were, played his hand, and of course Arnoux will be ready to expect that every lap, which makes it, of course, that much more difficult for Jacques Lafitte, because he'll have Arnoux will be able to take the appropriate sort of action to try and prevent a move like that. That of course is the problem. If you're going to try a manoeuvre like that, he did it so brilliantly to Pironi, partly because he caught him napping. I don't think Pironi was expecting it to come, which definitely helped the manoeuvre. There they go. He's got no chance here. You see up the hill with the power of the turbo just taking him away. Plenty of room on the braking area for the chicane. A frustrated defeat, although Piquet isn't catching up very fast at the moment. We'll get a gap on that moment, see what progress he's making. He's still 10 seconds behind and doesn't seem to be making a great deal of progress, so I think Piquet's struggling a bit.
And so, quite apart from the gripping interest of this battle for the lead, the question is, can Piquet stave off Alan Jones and Carlos Reutemann? Because this race is absolutely critical, and Salazar has got ahead of Derek Daly and cleared the circuit, but now Derek Daly retakes that place as they go into the Bosch curve. And as you can see, now this is going to be very interesting indeed, because René Arnoux and Jacques Lafitte are closing up on the battle, which is being led by Didier Pironi. And Pironi, at the present moment, number 28, the Ferrari driver. No, he's slipped down the field because ahead of him as Jacques Lafitte is through. Brilliant! Jacques Lafitte takes René Arnoux and the lead, and Jacques Lafitte on lap 39 in this 53-lap race. We have another new leader. First of all, it was Alain Prost. Then it was René Arnoux when Alain Prost went out with presumably a blown engine on lap 27. Then Jacques Lafitte, as we have seen, harried, first of all closed up on, and then harried René Arnoux every inch of the way, and now he is through into the lead on lap 39 out of 53 and carving his way through the tail enders. But he's still got a problem. He's got past Eliseo Salazar. He's now closing up on Derek Daly, who is actually a lap behind everybody. And ahead of that lot is Didier Pironi. And again now Arnoux comes up to close up right behind Jacques Lafitte.
Yes, it's most unfortunate for Jacques that he's got back marks in front of him because Arnoux didn't get round that corner very well, unfortunately. Here we're going to see a replay of the overtaking manoeuvre. Lafitte doing the same trick that he did to Didier Pironi earlier in the race, nipping through on the inside right at the last minute. There's Arnoux, a little bit of a surprise, a little switch there as he tucked in behind. But Lafitte seems to be handling things all right at the moment, and he's passed. I think he's clear of the bunch now, which puts the advantage right back into his court, because Arnoux still has to get past the back markers, although of course with the turbocharged engine this isn't so much of a problem for him as it would have potentially been for Lafitte. Now
Jacques Lafitte is now 2.7 seconds, and there's the gap between Lafitte and Piquet, 8.75 seconds, Piquet being in third position. So that means to say that Piquet is gaining a bit on René Arnoux, who's dropping back all the time. There is Lafitte, lap 42. And there is De Cesaris, about to be lapped by Alan Jones, who is in fourth place, behind Nelson Piquet and ahead of his teammate Carlos Reutemann, on his way to 3 World Championship points. If he can get past ex-kart champion of Italy, Europe and the world, Andrea De Cesaris, and he's done it. That's where Mario Andretti went off in the wet 2 years ago. And now look at the suspension, or lack of it, on the Williams. 1-inch suspension movement, and no wonder Alan Jones says that it is absolute hell to drive a Formula One World Championship car under today's racing situations, where there is this farcical state of affairs where everybody knows that the cars are illegal as soon as they leave the pit lane because they do not have the necessary ground clearance they are supposed to have, but no one seems to be prepared to do anything about it. Michele Alboreto in the Tyrrell, into the pit, through the fire extinguisher powder of Giacomelli's car. Across the line goes Jacques Lafitte. The gap between Lafitte and Arnoux is 2 seconds exactly, as we look at Andrea De Cesaris, who is actually in 10th position. Lap 43 then, 53 lap race, and that makes 195.7 miles. No question, of course, of the lap record having been challenged, because the lap record last year was put up by René Arnoux in a skirted Renault. Something flies up from underneath De Angelis' wheels as Jacques Lafitte goes through and passes Jean-Pierre Jarier, the Frenchman, who had a really big happening in practice when his warm-up period this morning, when his Osella engine blew. But nevertheless, Charrier's got a lot to be proud about, because he qualified in 14th place, which is much higher than any Osella has ever been in the past. And we're looking at René Arnoux, second place, lap 43, Jacques Lafitte ahead of him, Nelson Piquet behind him and not really gaining, Alan Jones still fourth and Reutemann fifth. There's Derek Ongaro, the man who starts the races, with Bernie Ecclestone, the czar of Formula One, striding away down the pit lane. All is well. And Arnoux goes into the Jochen Rindt curve. That's what the drivers can see as they go across the line. And Lafitte sees it now. Arnoux sees it. 2.45 seconds is the gap. And Nelson Piquet is doing nothing about the gap between himself and Jacques Lafitte, who is now chasing and about to lap, methinks, Riccardo Patrese, who is in 8th position. Lafitte then lapping everybody up to 8th at the present moment. And in front of Riccardo Patrese, the 7th place man is Elio De Angelis. Then in 6th place, John Watson. 5th, Reutemann. 4th, Jones. 3rd, Piquet. 2nd, Arnoux. And there's the leader, Jacques Lafitte. Taking, or is he? Yes. Quick prod of one of the pedals. I'm not quite sure which, but he goes through on the Bosch curve to take the 8th place man, and he's now closing up on 7th position man in the John Player Special Lotus, that is to say Elio De Angelis, the Roman. Jacques Lafitte Talbot leading on lap 46 in this 53-lap race. We'll soon see. There is Lafitte, and there is Arnoux taking De Angelis. It looks to me visually as though Arnoux is certainly closer to Lafitte than he was on the previous lap. Into the Bosch curve. Arnoux in 2nd place. He has lapped De Angelis, number 11, who is 7th. Where is Jacques Lafitte? The answer is going into the first left-hander of the Texaco curves, and this is where Lafitte was so much faster than Arnoux previously and actually caught him and passed him. Arnoux pulling away from De Angelis. Lap 46. Jacques Lafitte, the leader. René Arnoux, that we're looking at, is in 2nd place. Piquet still 3rd. Jones still 4th. Reutemann still 5th. And John Watson still 6th. Now, this is going to be the testing time when we can check by ear and on the stopwatch as Lafitte goes across the line. Here he is. Well, it's 1.9 seconds there.
Strange that, because his engine sounded all right to me as he went past. I had a good careful listen then, and yet the gap has definitely come down again. And in fact, look at that. I mean, Arnoux is visibly closer. So, I don't know, maybe the Lafitte was just taking a breather, or maybe he had a bit of a fuel pickup problem or something that's cured itself. I don't know. All seems rather strange, but I suppose we just have to wait and see how it develops before we can surmise any further.
Well, let the eye be the judge. This is lap 47. The stopwatch can give us a check as well. Nelson Piquet there in 3rd position. We haven't seen him for a long time. He's driving steadily on. And it's Lafitte on lap 47, leading the yellow and white Renault of number 16, 33-year-old. And John Watson has gone past, sounding very rough indeed. He's in, at least his Barbara sounds very rough indeed, in 6th position as we watch René Arnoux. Now, where is Lafitte in comparison? There he is over the hill. Well, Arnoux is certainly not gaining on him. This is going to be the end of lap 47, and I'm going to take a check not only on... There goes Lafitte through. In fact, he's increasing his lead in 3.7 seconds now, Jacques Lafitte. If anybody's holding back, it's René Arnoux. There he is. Well, maybe Lafitte had backed off a bit, and there, spinning off goes Riccardo Patrese, who had come into the pits. And do you remember Siegfried Sturr was mystifiedly looking at the steam pouring out of the back of his engine in his arrows, And now Riccardo Patrese isn't even bothering to do that. He walks disgustedly away from the car, and that's Salazar, the Chilean, out of the race. And at the time he went out, he was very well up. Indeed, he was in 9th position. A great drive. Yes, shrugs his shoulders. Well, that's motor racing, he seems to be saying. He's being told to keep close into the Armco barrier as he walks into the pits. His race is run, and Riccardo Patrese's race is run too. John Watson sounds as though he hasn't got very far to go because his engine is sounding rougher and rougher, lap by lap. And so out of this Austrian Grand Prix have gone Gilles Villeneuve in the lead, Alain Prost in the lead. Jacques Lafitte moved up into the lead on lap 39 by passing René Arnoux. Patrese's gone out, Siegfried Stoer has gone out, and Jacques Lafitte has just gone through. He is definitely increasing his lead. It is now 5.5 seconds. And they are on their 49th lap. 5 laps to go, including the lap that they're on. And far be it from me to say that the race pattern is set, because I've said that too many times in the past, only to have something very dramatic happening. But certainly, Lafitte, who I thought was in trouble, is clearly not, because he is increasing his lead and on his way to 9 World Championship points, and he's increasing that lead over René Arnoux. And Jacques Lafitte's gap between himself in 3rd position and Nelson Piquet, who is 2nd in the World Championship, is 10 points. If Lafitte wins, he will get 9 points. If Piquet finishes in 3rd place, he will get 4 points. So Jacques Lafitte at a stroke will have half the gap between himself and the man who is ahead of him in the World Championship. And by the way, as we look at René Arnoux in 2nd place on lap 49, there are only 12 cars left in the race. Left out of the 24 who started.
Well, we've just had news that it's maybe raining around the back of the circuit. Little drops of rain coming down. I can't see any clouds around, particularly heavy, well, not heavy ones. They look quite high. But if that is the case, then of course that should liven things up, and all sorts of fun and games could start. We get a little bit of a wetting for the track. Of course, if we get any serious rain, they'd have to stop the race and declare a result. So we've now already completed 3/4 distance, and they can never have people coming and change tyres in these pits. They're just about the smallest pits in Grand Prix racing.
Number 5 there that's just gone through, Nelson Piquet, and the gap between Lafitte and in the lead and Arnoux in 2nd place is now 6 seconds, and it's about 5 seconds between number 5 here, the brilliant Brazilian Nelson Piquet, the winner of the Argentine Grand Prix this year, the winner of the San Marino and the German Grand Prix, and a lot of other good places, despite the fact that in Belgium, in Monaco, in Spain, and in the British Grand Prix he failed to finish, but he's in 2nd place in the World Championship. Nelson Piquet, 3rd in the Austrian Grand Prix. 4 points in the bag if he can keep going. That will give him 39 points. And at this stage in the World Championship, because this is round 11 out of 15, if you can, the thing to do, Jacques Lafitte, the leader, is to get up in the points and stay there. Obviously, as high up as you possibly can. Jacques Lafitte completing in a moment. Lap 50 out of 53. crest the rise, up into fifth, the descent, first of all to the sweeping left-hander, the fastest part of the course, 180 miles an hour for Arnoux, with his car bouncing on the rigid suspension. Then down at least one gear into the Bosch curve, about 11,000 RPM and 145 miles an hour. Now up another gear, back into third for the left-hander at the Texaco bends. That's a good 140 miles an hour. And the left-hander that he's coming up to now is the one where Carlos Reutemann says you can actually physically black out because of the enormous G-forces. John Watson passes me, staggering round. The engine sounding rougher and rougher, lap by lap, and he's still in sixth position, and he's still in the points. As Jacques Lafitte crosses the line, there is the race leader, and he's just got this lap and the next one to go, and the gap between him and René Arnoux is 4.7 seconds. Piquet is gaining on Arnoux, and very close to Piquet is Alan Jones. In fact, there's going to be quite a scrap for third position in the closing stages of the race as Reutemann goes through, still in the points in fifth position, and John Watson is going to be lapped, I think, by Lafitte before the end of the race. Reutemann is now on his last lap but one. Lafitte disappears from view, reappears on the downhill section. He's on his way to the Bosch curve on lap 52 out of 53. And this, if he wins, will be the first victory he has had this year, notwithstanding the fact that he's already won 4 Grand Prix in his career. He won in the V12 Matra-powered Ligier in Sweden some years ago. He won in the Argentine and Brazil. Last year he won in Germany. But this year, although he has been second in Belgium and second in Spain, third at Monaco, third in Britain and third in Germany, and a sixth in Brazil, very, very consistent. Jacques Lafitte has yet to win a 1981 Grand Prix. And this, the Austrian Grand Prix, could be the one. He is coming out of the Jochen Rindt curve now to start lap 53. He's into that last lap now. Round the Österreich ring then with Jacques Lafitte, and the gap between Arnoux and Piquet is down to 4 seconds. The gap between Piquet, who is in third position, and Jones, who is in fourth place, is 3 seconds. And then there's a long gap before Carlos Reutemann goes through in fifth place, let alone John Watson, who is still sixth. But on his winning way now goes 37-year-old Jacques Lafitte, almost home for his first Grand Prix win of 1981 in his 105th Grand Prix, with his ex-team man that he worked for as a mechanic, Jean-Pierre Jabouille, because Jacques Lafitte started his career as a mechanic, worked for the man who is now his brother-in-law, Jean-Pierre Jabouille, and Jabouille is now Jacques Lafitte's, I think you can hardly call it team manager, but he is certainly very much a power in the Talbot team now that Ducar Rouge is out of it. And Jacques Lafitte now round the Texaco bends, up over the crest on his way to the Jochen Rindt curve. That's it now. He's into the last right-hander of the circuit. And when you see the knobbly bit, that's it. Jacques Lafitte has won. He can't possibly be beaten now. The 1981 Austrian Grand Prix, and the Ligier himself, Guy Ligier, and all the Ligier mechanics burst out of the pit, vault the wall, as René Arnoux finishes second and Piquet third. That's how close it was. There is Alan Jones finishing in fourth position. So the world champion has at last finished in a race after having an appalling run of bad luck. Carlos Reutemann will be the next one through in fifth position. And I'm looking for the Argentine now, as there they give the results, notwithstanding the fact that Carlos Reutemann had coasts across the line with a dead engine. Carlos Reutemann coasts across the line with a dead engine, but definitely to take 5th position. Now we're just waiting for the crippled Marlborough MP4 of John Watson to come through in 6th position. But without a doubt, Jacques Lafitte, with that race time of 1 hour, 27.36 minutes, which is 1.5 minutes longer than the winning time last year of Jean-Pierre Jabouille, has definitely won the Austrian Grand Prix, his first victory. And incidentally, as Piquet and Arnoux go around together, look, they have thrown the suspension operating switch to lift the cars, and they look like praying mantises now, all 3 of them. Look at the Talbot, way off the ground, with not 6 millimetres of space. John Watson has limped across the line in 6th position.